I won't pet you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Homeward here at the Nerd Asylum's Twitch or in YouTube if you're catching us in YouTube. And well, just for everyone that doesn't know, this is the Nerd Asylum actual play. I was gonna say podcast, but no, live stream of Starfinder. And well, let's just cat let's
Sorry.
just yeah, cats. Let's just jump back at the story where we left off with a bit of a recap. So the past 2 weeks in the story, our characters, our team has been figuring out personal situations, dealing with things in the ship, having arguments, trying to knock each other out as one of them is trying to take a not very well planned spacewalk, finding out a bit about of yourself, of your story, your past, and who you are, as you still have no many clues of who you really are, along with the rest of the crew. And in the last couple of days of this week, um, Nolodius went on to S to ask some help in terms of going, I trying again this spacewalk into the into the void, uh, and at least get a bit of a sense of what is going on with that. But I think before jumping into that section, uh, just because, uh, Kay,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I
You're getting
was
couple
fully
like,
expecting to not have to talk for the first half an hour, 45 minutes, so let's do this.
yeah, just a small vignettes. Is that the right word? Like a
Cameo.
separate, not cameo,
Vignette.
like
No,
a
vignette. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
vignette. Yeah.
vignette is the right word.
God, I didn't even. Oh, ooh, sorry. Carry
Um.
on.
So you finish your work day work at the moment, and come back to your room. I got a question for you. Has Kay sent any request for a specific food for the gardening section of the ship to work on, or any food that you have gathered to do some work in? Food art has
I
been just things you collect around.
I think it's been just like little things that they have collected rather than bothering them to do anything big. Um with all of the stress of everything, it's the smaller things are good for winding down the smaller projects. Um, and then, of course, they eat the projects when they're done because they don't want to waste food. So, yeah, they probably have a small project to work on, like the equivalent of some form of orange or citrus, like maybe a grapefruit or.
Okay. Yeah, this you're working with this citrus fruit. It has a bit of a weird metallic orangey coloration into it. There's a bit of that sensation in it that makes it feel tougher, and you realize that it takes a bit of a sharp knife to cut through it. And as it comes out the smell, there is that like small salty aroma into it. So it adds a how to say it. It's like when you put grapefruit and you add some salt into it, that kind of taste smell, like
Aromatherapy.
kind of it's
Also, you
it
put
has a bit.
sugar on grapefruit, not salt.
No, you can put salt on
You
it.
put
Salt it.
fucking salt on grapefruit?
Alton Brown has proved this.
Oh,
I have done that.
This is true. You can
Alton
put
Brown
salt
can
on
huff my
grapefruit.
shorts.
I'm gonna
Well,
stick with sugar on grapefruit, thank you.
How
wow,
dare you take the name of Alton Brown in vain?
I don't even know who
I
that is.
I have apparently touched a very sensible topic for our group. I thought this was normal and people would be like okay with that salty, like, oh yes, this is tasteful. But then I'm like, I'm just getting
People put salt on watermelon, and that makes more sense.
watermelon. Okay, either way,
Okay.
it has a citrusy
Sky is
smell.
having a seizure at the bottom of the screen. I apologize.
And
Anyway,
you're beginning to to work on it. Trying to, like, I imagine first trying to cut in a way that
rind.
the cover of it, the skin, the
Rind.
rind.
That is what that word is in English. Yes.
I just realized that's the first time I think of that word, and I say it. Yeah, the rind of this citrus. Like you're trying to cut it in a way that it opens like a flower,
Mm-hmm.
and then go and do the arrangement inside. And you do have your music. You have your random music selection.
No
And
vocals
among
this
all
night.
that, yeah, there's also, you found that there's like playlists already organized,
Yeah.
and some are, the names of it are very specific. So you're not like, oh, what does this mean? Like you're like, okay, this is vocals. This is something calm.
Hey, calm for K might be rage inducing for other people. It's fine.
Yeah, you have that. And it's like you pick one that is more of just drifting away with the melody, with the process of working with this. And as you're doing that, the music, the song finishes. There's like this low fade off of the instruments as they're repeating the tune over and over. And the next one kind of takes you a bit by surprise, as it begins with what would be an equivalent of a cello.
Okay.
And you do raise your head a moment, thinking about it, when an image strikes in your head. It's like the image of a material, not organic, not something you have work with, but something you've seen someone else work with. This kind of like marble kind of texture, and you see hands working on it. Hands that seem, have that same metallic texture that you have. The coloration is different. It's more of a kind of orangey, reddish coloration. And as it touches this marble, it moves like a more malleable material, and it is like shifting it, moving around. For a moment, you're not longer in this room. Your vision is even limited to this kind of circular window, as you feel yourself floating in some sort of liquid bath of some sort, as you're watching now in this kind of a loft apartment, a light entering brightly in there, as you see this Sheeran, a bit light in its clothing, working with this kind of like 8 feet tall mass of this material that it's molding, it's cutting, putting away in different places, moving it, shaping it. And it's the same song that you were listening. The cellos are continuing, but there's now some synthetic sounds into it that gives that familiar weight that you get in your music. And you look more around. You're like, for a moment, you think trapped in this enclosed metallic thing you are. But as you're kind of thinking in that same memory about yourself and about what is happening around you, you don't feel your legs as you usually do. You don't feel your arms. And kind of looking down toward you, you're way shorter. You're like this size, more or less.
I'm a larva. I'm in
Yeah.
my little larval pod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watching them. You're not in this memory, you're not sure how loud it is, but you're seeing a bit of the water trembling, uh, vibrating around, and you feel that vibration coming through. And for a brief moment, you have that vision before you return to your quarters. The citrus is still in front of you. The music now continuing where it was left in that memory.
Yeah. Kay will probably stop working on it for a little bit to finish listening to the song and just try to relax. And then go back to working on the little flower until the flower is done, and then possibly leave the flower or like put it in the fridge for maybe later, or munch on it as Faye is like munch 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 munch.
The idea of like finishing a flower, then you sit there for a moment looking at this beautiful handicraft, and then immediately it's very but just like spatters of fruit everywhere.
Kay
that
is
seems like a
very
great
neat.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, my goblin brain
have-
is getting ahead of me.
They are constantly wearing like a partial suit.
It's not like the bugs I know.
really hope that you put like a napkin down over that tie at least. Not gonna get any fruit juice on there. The lapels at
Like
least.
the sleeves rolled up to the elbows.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
all
you
nice
could
and
also
neat.
let
Yeah, just keep yourself clean.
Give it to Squishy.
yeah, Squishy
Yeah.
just let it like go through and clean.
I think that's what Kay would do this evening. Probably because of the memory. It's just like get Squishy and let Squishy absorb the food.
Okay. Yeah. Do roll me an intelligence check. Just straight up intelligence.
$22.
Damn. Okay. So in that moment that you just leave for a moment the work in progress fruit in front of you and listen a bit more to the song, trying to just focus on it, there's kind of a moment of mental clarity as that memory becomes a bit more present, and of no longer in that haziness that you've been having for a lot. And there's like fractions of it. You don't spend all the time of focus. Like, there's fraction here, fraction there, but you recognize there's like time passing there. And you see that this other Sheeran stops on the work and has made, at least has worked from the top to middle of this chunk of material, and halfway through it has made this kind of a weird interpretation of two humanoids, kind of Sheeran in appearance, artistic interpretation, as they're trying to like separate one another. Like you see the torsos kind of combine and they're like trying to push each other away. And the rest of it, you don't see it yet, as it just takes a moment to stop working, sits next to you, taps a bit on the protection glass on you, and just says in Sheeran, which I can't Sheeran, so I'm just
It's
gonna
fine.
speak in English. You know what's beautiful, hey, about art? doesn't need to be perfect. It's just what we want it to be out there. And that's what's important about everything you do. Out there, whatever you choose, just be yourself when you do it. And no matter what you do, you will end up doing art too. They like look into the glass and like give like a very, how to put it, like they give like a gentle caress in the glass, trying to like go into you, you know, as they pat it for a moment. I do look forward to when you grow up to see what kind of art you make, little one. And they smile. And you're back again in your room, as the music has kind of faded away. And there's a new song starting. You see squishies near the work in progress citrus.
Kay will hug a pillow for a little bit and just sit and think about that.
You rest there, and probably takes a while before you feel like you might need to go to bed or somewhere more comfortable, or even just sleep there for the night. The couches are kind of comfortable too.
Kay has a bed.
Mm.
Kay will sleep in the bed. But yeah, they sleep hugging a pillow.
Even though it might have been a long away memory, it feels very, very near. And I think Kay will have time to think if it's comforting or not, those words. But
can Sheeran cry? That is
can
a good
Bucks
question.
cry?
No, Sheeran in particular, because we've established that Sheeran are they are a bug, but
yeah.
I'm gonna Google it.
I don't.
Bugs do not have tear ducts, so they do not cry, according to Google. Adding to the list of things we've Googled about bugs.
Also, I think in a way to have that kind of thing, like tearing up, you will need to also need to, how you put, like, not hydrate, moist. No, that sounds worse. Your eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, if Sheeran could cry, Kay would probably cry a little bit. But because Sheeran can't cry, they're just gonna hug a pillow and be sad, but also comforted at the same time. It's a weird kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But I feel like Kay would have this feeling of missing someone, but not fully comprehending that that's what the feeling is. It's just this bit of sadness mixed with comfort of hugging the pillow. So that is
there would be a slight chirpy sounds that would be the equivalent of a bit of that emotion for Sheeran, but crying itself might not be.
Yeah, the act of crying, but sad Sheeran is sad.
Why insects are more sensitive than they seem? Ray. I'll need to look for that later. But in the meantime, sometime a bit before that whole situation, or during that time even, we have two people walking toward the nearest airlock to where S room was. And I need to know a couple of things from S and from Lo. Are you on your way there? We already clarified the thing about armor and how it can prevent,
Yeah, and I've got the rope.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank God.
Is it just like a rope? Like
it's
a
just
hempen
a rope.
It's not like, okay.
It's nothing special.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like a space rope or just hempen rope.
It's whatever it was whatever rope they
Grab for the excavation.
yeah, what I grabbed for the planet sidewalk that we didn't use. It's that rope.
Okay, rope ass
Okay.
looking rope.
Yeah, it's very rope-like.
It's the 50 feet of rope that every D&D character has on them at all times,
100.
and no one addresses.
It's the first thing I throw out when I clean out my bag.
I won't
I
need
always
this.
keep that rope. Are you kidding me? That rope has saved me before.
R-
I'm
remind
in
me
an
to tell you.
Underdark campaign right now. We use rope and grapple hooks.
That makes
Oh
sense.
yeah,
Icewind
no,
Dale.
rope is important. I just make that character choice that everyone else is gonna have rope, so I don't need it.
In
I
one of the
had-
most
Icewind
backassward feats of military prowess, Spartacus and his rebel army rappelled down onto a Roman legion using a ton of rope. So, maybe
Rope
it's
is important.
Yeah, it's like when
Maybe
we go on a spacewalk. I've got the rope.
Yeah,
We're gonna
Icewind
go-
Dale, like Goliath Paladin, 200 feet of rope the entire campaign.
That's a lot of rope.
You never know when you will need that much rope. I have to admit it.
Dude.
Like,
We went
You
through
never know.
blizzards just tying ourselves to
but
each
in
other.
the meantime,
Yeah.
as the rope goes on, any other
As the
preparations
rope
that you
goes on.
guys might do?
Have we acquired? We acquired spacesuits, yes.
We don't need them. That's the armor thing, and we will be
Yeah.
fine.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
cool,
you
cool,
can
cool.
activate the armor, and yeah. I would say also, if necessary, or if your character will feel comfortable, you can find that in the near the airlock sections. They will have those kind of things just for emergency. Someone needs to put it and walk out immediately instead of having to go anywhere else.
Mhm.
But any other preparation, any other thing, like once you are in the airlock,
Null is already fighting against his most base desire to simply walk into the void. So every aspect of this that has been towards self-preservation is a huge act of will. So he's chomping at the bit, and he's wanting to get out there as soon as he can. The one concession to that is he does pause to see if the moss ball is still on his person.
it is. In this moment, it is.
He's going to take it out of his pocket, and I assume there's like lockers or something in the airlock where he can set it.
In the same place that there's you can find like these lockers with the space suits. There's also you can nudge a bit of the equipment around to place it there.
In my mind, I'm picturing like a water park where you go and you buy the little like
The little
orange key. But yeah, he will take the moss ball out of his pocket and just don't want you getting hurt. Don't move now.
Still there. Still there.
And then heads back towards the airlock proper.
Okay.
As
Bill
uh,
talks to objects like I do.
Noel comes to the airlock, S is gonna hand him a end of the rope. And I don't want to be rude, but can you attach that somewhere to yourself?
It's it's not every day that someone asks to tie you up. Certainly. And he'll like
Nope.
tie a
We don't
Uh,
kink shame here.
he didn't. He'll tie a simple slip knot through the I assume there's some sort of webbing harness situation going on.
There can be. We've got enough rope for it.
I mean,
Sorry.
like on his armor.
Oh,
He'll
okay.
just tie like a simple repelling harness.
Yeah.
He wouldn't know how to do that. He ties a fucking knot.
Yeah.
Okay. I will not make you roll for tying a knot.
Roll for knot.
If any other thing that could go wrong, I don't think the knot might be the one.
he ties it like he is a tomato plant on a trellis, which is probably his only touch point with knots.
Don't
Don't
worry
worry
about it,
about it.
Sakurane. It's just a knot. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just not.
Never heard of any of that. Yeah. Okay. What other preparations any of you are doing?
I would also I would put enough like I would time as somewhere close to like 3/4 of the way down, so there's enough room for Null to have his own space. But also enough like if I need to put a anchor, I have the end of the rope to tie that as like an anchor point, so that way we don't go flying off.
Okay.
I know that you told me about the whole thing with the space boots and all that stuff, but like if Noel wants to go vibe out in the void, like free floating, I want to take precaution.
What is it called? Like tubing, where you tie yourself to the back of a boat and just sort of like go on
Yes. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh, what would happen if the ship would go into drift at this moment?
Space wake. It is moving though, right? Like the ship is still moving.
Yeah, it's not in drift.
It's not in the drift, which you're not in like the equivalent of hyperspace, warp, or whatever. So
It's stretched. Spaghettification.
100% spaghettification is what my mind goes to.
Let's not scare the
okay.
chat with that.
So you finish up, and are you going to tie this rope to a point inside this section of the airlock, or
No.
outside?
Anchor point isn't tied. I just have that in case I need to do an anchor point, so I have enough space.
Okay, so you do have now there's like you're in this small corridor that is into the hallway section that it has some engineering equipment to go out. Then the small hallway you are to the first door, and then behind it there's a thicker door that would lead right outside. Any other thing you might do?
I'm following your lead here, Noel.
Truly? You don't have to. There are moments of lucidity, or perhaps that is a delusion that I am interpreting as such, but I recognize that this is insane. And while I do appreciate your willingness to humor me on this venture, I worry that I've asked too much, or that if something does go wrong, I don't want to be the one who yanks you out into the void with me, because it's only calling me, you understand. It's not really speaking to truly.
Yeah. That's why we take precaution. I've got rope. Could tie it off to a point outside. Or who knows? Maybe I'm strong enough to just, keep my ground. But you asked for my help, and I'm gonna give it to you.
He reaches out a hand, and it looks like he starts to reach for Ez's face, and then looks like he changes his trajectory halfway through and just gives like a firm pat on the shoulder. Much appreciated. Well, the void beckons and I must go. Open the hatch.
Okay. You go to the controls of the hatch, and
do I even have to roll?
just bad things happen.
Who's opening?
I'll
Who's-
like if it's a ship thing, I'll take care of it.
Okay. So,
Ship stuff.
because I really don't think it's necessary for you to roll, but just roll for it. Why not? Just let's see what number we get tonight.
Let's see
let's
what
see how awesome you are at opening a door.
Hey, listen. What if it's a
I
push door and
hate-
you pull?
that you said that at that moment, Sky. Because
Oh,
I got
no.
a 1.
No, we are
However-
sucked into the void.
However, with my modifier, it's a 16.
Okay, so just as a reminder for skill checks and those things, nat 1 or nat 20 don't count unless it's like to add to the success or failure. Honestly, I was thinking 10 will be the bare minimum for just the basic stuff, and 15 would be
So
like,
funny.
yes, this is something you also notice. Opening the doors just like that will be a terrible idea.
I closed the
So-
other ones to do the airlock.
Yeah, you close the ones, you make sure that they close behind you. There's a bit of a countdown for the decompression and the draining of oxygen. So, when it opens, you just don't just yank out. So at that moment, you also activate your protection, to breathe and be outside into the inhospitable environment of space. You also, realize that just because you've been working with the systems of the ship and you've done some work in these things, whenever just a door, a hatch in the ship opens, there's a notification to the bridge because, they gotta be notice of like, okay, this door is opening. Hey, what's going on? Just like clarify with the engineers and just like, someone is just opening the door. What the fuck? So you're
I'm
like-
just gonna do a quick calm out to Vahivel saying, "Don't worry, it's me." Like
Yeah.
immediately after I know that the
Don't
ping would be
worry,
going.
it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say with that roll, you remember that as it's already happening. So you're like, oh, I didn't like hack this before. So it's like, okay, just send a message quickly. Don't
Like a
worry, it's
text you
me.
send to your dad when you open the door and he's not expecting you here for like another hour.
And
Don't worry, Dad, it's me.
just you getting a few seconds later in what you call it, what is just the message says okay, 3 dots, question mark, and as it's still happening, this a compression section, it's not immediate. It takes a couple of like 1 or 2 minutes just for safety of the ship. You also get a message of, oh, that question mark, and there's an image of like the notification of a hatch opening.
All I say back is yes.
Okay, be safe.
Have fun.
Ta-ta!
I send back, I've taken precautions.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it's just there's no more answer. There's just like,
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of their communication.
It's just the equivalent of reacting with the thumbs up emoji.
okay. So it finishes, and there's a bit of light indication what it's the process of the decompression and clearing out the oxygen in the hallway, in the small hallway is, and the lights do turn off, but those indicators, they just stand still as the first door opens, followed up by the bulk door. You're not obviously propelled into the outside, and you can activate the boots at this moment. You still have a bit of the gravity, but you know that the moment you begin getting outside of this hallway, you will have no gravity to hold. And in front of you is just the dark expanse of space, and you can walk outside.
Trust fall into space is what Null is doing. He is walking to the edge of the ship, closing his eyes, turning his back on the void, and with a long exhale of tension he's been holding, he is finally returning to the void that has been calling him.
So you begin taking those steps, and on that last step, as you take a deep inhale, this time you know like the armor is protecting you, but you don't have the equipment you had before. There's no helmet that interrupts what you're seeing in front of you. As there's that moment where you're fine for a moment, you feel your heart actually skip a beat, though you're not sure how often that has happened before since you came in back, but you feel it as your chest suddenly has that whoop, and you drop. There's no falling, there's no pull, anything. You just begin to drift as you begin seeing the side of the ship surrounded by nothingness. S, are you doing something? You're walking forward?
Yeah. S has activated the gravity onto his boots, so that magnetic pull there. And S will follow to the edge. And if I need to move out and walk along the whole of the ship, I am prepared to do so. But this is more, S is just keeping his eyes. There's the grandeur and the wonder of space beyond, but his eyes stay on Null, and he is trying to anticipate what Null will need of him.
Okay. And you're here to do a job at this moment. So you begin making your way out. There's that a bit of a moment you lose a bit your balance as you take the step, and you go from here to like walking to the side, and you're like, oh, and it gives a vertigo as like you're now on the side of the hole and surrounded by nothingness, and a bit of that thought of, if something happens to these boots and I can't grab a hold, I'll just float forever. Maybe. Melodious, what are you feeling right now?
I think the only comparable thing Nelodius would have to as a point of reference is floating in water under a dark night sky. It's generally the closest any of us get to experiencing true zero gravity. And it's not an exact parallel, but he finds himself spreading his arms and legs in the same way he would if he was attempting to float, and staring off into the spaces between the stars. And in his mind, he is just repeating a liturgy that he hasn't been fully conscious of for the past weeks, that can essentially be summed up as, well, you called and I came, and I'm here now, and I know you're out there, or you are out there. You are the out there, and I'm here because you called me and I came, and it's that over and over and over again. And he is waiting.
Okay. I need you to roll How active, actually, I want to know a few things. How active are you in that mantra, in that hymn? How much is your desire to reach the voice? Is it with eagerness? Is it with curiosity?
Probably a combination of the two. Definitely it's something that grows and grows and grows the more time passes, but it's a sort of halfway between scientific curiosity and the inherent unpredictability that is an organic life. Not everything is perfectly explained by the scientific method that he's, dedicated his whole life to. So part of it is a scientific curiosity, and part of it is just innate mortal desire.
As you're repeating these words, you kind of manage to balance yourself a bit so you are, as absurd as it might sound, facing space. And the stars continues flickering every now and then. You feel, after a couple of seconds, you feel a bit of the pull from the ship as you've been dragged a bit along the rope and S, which is your anchor at this moment. The first minute, there's silence. You can feel your ears, like a bit of that ringiness. It's empty. There's nothing here. But by what you describe, that sensation of being in the pool in the middle of the night, just staring at the sky, I take Melodios is not desperate, and it's somewhat in a calm state. Just whatever it's going to happen, it will happen, and you're just taking it in, right?
Yes. He is trying to be as open as the void itself is, ready to receive this vast wisdom. Because something I've just realized as I've been contemplating the consequences of being in zero gravity is that his leg doesn't hurt anymore, which is fascinating because it doesn't have the weight pulling down on it. So I think maybe he realizes that and he's like, "Oh, I could stay out here forever. Actually, this is great.
Perfect." Okay.
Give Max
with
some time
all
and a
that
bandsaw, and he
description,
can fix that forever.
Oh,
oh, with all that description, I think that we'll then make this mysticism roll.
I would love to roll mysticism. Maybe I should pour out my dice and see what's on in the rest of here, because I always just roll the one that's on top. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm being extra now.
Deposing, no.
Deposing? No.
You need the fresh dice for this. It's an important roll.
This one's a glow in the dark. Well,
Ooh.
it's gone.
Not anymore.
Turn off all the lights.
It's in the
it'll glow.
void, just like
Yeah.
y'all.
Turn off all the lights, I'll find it. When you glitter bomb someone, you have to glitter bomb them with both glow in the dark and regular glitter. They'll know no peace. Okay.
Oh no.
This one's just
This
one's just green.
Advice from Ray, everybody.
I've made some enemies. Okay, it's a 10 on die. Mysticism, you say?
Yes.
What if I didn't look at my Pathfinder Barbarians character sheet? Okay. It's a total of 21. I don't think my kobold is gonna have a mysticism roll. 21.
Okay.
You never know.
So there's a scientific part in your brain trying to pick each section, pick the sensations, the idea, trying to pat, the scientific method, you make an hypothesis, make an objective or where you want to lead, then begin working on the methodology. I mean, I'm skipping the part of getting the research material and by bibliography, by that
Bibliography.
biblio that
You
thing,
got it.
whatever
You got it.
that. But it's like trying to give it a shape, give it a form. But there's just another part of you that you in the past days you haven't been actively thinking about it, which is that connection, that psychic energy that you have, even if it's dull out. For a moment, thinking about the world, the universe. Yeah, there's advanced technology. There's great advanced, interpretations of science, understandings that have come from that hard work. But there is also that side that it requires a leap of faith. And you don't fully close your eyes because the way in front of you, it's just emptiness, but focus not on the stars, not on the movement, not in the freeing sensation of your body, but just in the dark spots that paint this canvas in front of you. And the rope is no more there. The ship is no more there. You're not even sure if you're really there yet, or if you will ever be there. And in this moment of untetherness from your existence, the void is immense. You can't fathom its size. And there are whispers here, there. What begins as a slow, distant flow of water trickling into rocks, a small river making its way, slowly turns into the ebb and flow of the waves in the middle of open ocean. They don't crash, they don't hit anything, they're just constantly in motion. And among all of that, it is the immense emptiness. And for a moment, there's a bit of oppression in your chest as there's this idea and recognition that there's nothing there. It's a void. It's the nothingness. What were what you were doing in the beginning? Before you see a glint, tiny, almost imperceptible, but you saw it. And another glint following that one. And that same glint does it again. Its distance is far away, light years away, but it continues glinting. Again. And again. And again.
In whatever capacity I have, I'd like to try to move towards it.
It's more for the desire to move, as the glint, you follow it across thousands of stars that pass along with you. It never gets bigger, never gets closer or further, but you feel you're treading a way forward to it. And for a moment in that glint, it remains a bit brighter in an instant, as there's this feeling of, the only way to put it, it's why and what. That sensation, that idea of asking the question, looking for an answer, but not the desperation that brings searching for an answer for so long that you don't have it. Not the idea of picking apart a question until you understand it, but just the idea of the feeling, actually, of drive to find the answer. And as you're doing that, as you're following that, feel like in front of you there's, in this far and distant glint, this far and distant light, as if someone was gently offering their hand toward you. And as it does, you begin feeling something else. As you notice, like in other of the visions you had, probably notice a bit too late, that the stars around you have begun vanishing.
Ooh, okay.
And for a moment, you see some of them as they vanish, as they go from this pure white small glint, they take into for a moment, a brief moment, a sickly green before being snuffed away. And among all of that darkness, you feel something watching. And instead of an inviting hand, there's an oppressive grasp that is trying to reach forward toward you.
The words that I want to shout are, "Is this you who has been calling? Or are you besieged?" But I'm not sure how much I can actually talk in space.
Are you thinking those words, those questions, those ideas?
Yes.
On one side, you get a ethereal yes. On the other side, you get an imposing yes.
It wasn't a yes or no question. Frustrating. Okay. This is enough to just yank him out of the. I at this point don't actually know how much of this is a stupor and how much of this is actually happening to him. But that sense of ease and that sense of peace he has felt is just instantly gone. And even without gravity, the muscle instinct, the muscle urge to like come alert and be on guard is there, however that looks. But he is instantly trying to pinpoint the location of both of those two voices. I'm not sure how much that yanks him out of this reverie.
Make a wisdom saving throw, or the equivalent. I think it's will, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, quite good. $28.
Damn.
I rolled a 19.
Yeah, just be the coolest one. It's
In
fine.
in this ethereal, like, dream walk situation, though there's the idea of front and back, you still in a way are conscious enough of what happened. Like, it might be your power, it might be just understanding the situation, something not fully with explanation. You do know that even there's like front and back,
Mm.
it's not a physical orientation, but you do like give your focus to the front, to that invitation, that even though this mystery is happening around you, there's still that invitation for forward toward that, toward those questions of the what and why. And then your focus changes for a moment to see what's behind you.
What's behind me?
For a moment, the only thing you feel and can think of is that still coldness in your body, and just the one thought of not an answer, not a question, but the answer to all questions. And the answer is simple. The answer is end. As a familiar coldness for a moment overcomes you, and you have the will itself to break yourself out from the darkness of an all too familiar path you were brought back from. And you're there as you feel a violent yank from the rope, as suddenly you see as from a very unusually still position, like he was comfortably just floating, suddenly shaking. You do get in those seconds, you get like, that jumping when you're sleeping and you feel like falling. He does jump in Noel does jump in that way very violently, but immediately seems like he has recovered himself and he's just like trying to give himself orientation.
As soon as he becomes aware again, have you ever like swum too deep and then you get to the bottom of wherever you're going and you look back up and you realize how deep you are and how bad your lungs hurt, and you are just clawing your way towards the surface of the water? Um, that is the similar energy that our boy Null is bringing to just hauling himself hand over hand back towards the airlock.
Since I had as like
Space swim.
watching and trying to anticipate the needs when I saw him starting to like panic in the coming out, could I have started that process as well?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So
I want to say that as a person who has been a scuba diver and run out of air 60 feet down,
Yep.
it's not
Yep.
fun.
It's very scary. It's very, very scary.
I don't scuba dive, and like 10 feet down, running out of air in just the deep end of a pool. That's scary for me. So it's like, yep, nope.
and I'm the person that goes down to sit at the bottom and let out all the air.
Well, until your lungs hurt and you need to get to the
Oh yeah,
top.
when I need when my lungs hurt, I go up. But like I'm that very much the person that's like just sitting there.
Secret's just realized how messed up his room is just a little bit.
Oh no, I realized for a while now, and I'm the one trying to evoke those kind of feelings, so who am I to judge here?
Yeah,
I'm
so
actively working.
yeah, I think S here is going into full like, all right, I know what the need is, and the need is to bring Null in and get him inside.
You do that, and
The green screen is not your claw place. Go.
um,
Your cats, I love them.
there's, you know, between the two of you, pulling and you pulling from the rope to get closer to each other. There's a quick motion, and it takes not much time for Noel to be face to face with S, and it takes you a moment, Noel. Actually, I think with that role of Will, you did get your idea back of where you're going, what is happening. There's still the panic, but at least you remember to activate that you can activate the boots and place yourself, so you both can walk at a certainly hurried pace inside the ship.
Yeah, he's. I'm just speed walking back into the ship, into a place where there's that familiar tug of gravity. There's the sensation of air on my skin and warmth, however much it's muted, and light, and everything that is not in the void. And then Nelodius just falls to his knees onto the bulkhead, which he's sure rattles his bones and will hurt quite badly later. But at the moment, he is just glad to have something solid under his feet.
You feel the gravity welcoming, like you fall to your knees as you begin closing the door and activating the protocols for, getting oxygen back in here, which probably just once the bulk doors are closed, you can open the door into the other engineers, like service room kind of thing. And you have already air there. And notice the pace at how the doors close for you feels too slow, as the void's still out there.
It's out there and it's watching.
There's just that tingly sensation that that last second before you stop watching it, as this thick metal door that will protect you closes, there's just the returning tingling of it calling again.
I'm very gently being attacked.
The thick bulk door closes, then the other door closes, and there's a moment where the air begins entering this section and the doors back into the ship proper open, and you feel the air again. You drop the protection from your suit, and the air is there, the gravity is there, and you're back inside.
That wasn't how it was supposed to be. It was for a moment. There is something or two somethings. I mean, obviously the something is nothing, because that's what a void is. But there are two voices, as there are two compulsions, there are two callings, and they are diametrically opposed, and yet they're one and the same. I don't know if they're one and the same, but they sure do rhyme. Why did it call me out there? No, I don't. It's nothing, and it's void space. It's that vacuum between things that are. And as I've said, all life is based off of, and why did I think it was calling to me? I mean, it was, and it did, but what did it want? I have just more questions than answers, and the darkness and tether you pulled me back from was out there, And I'm not making any sense, I'm sorry.
After what I saw, I really don't expect you to make sense. I don't think you should. You were
It always has
panicked.
it always has to make sense though, doesn't it? That's what
No.
that's what science dictates, isn't it? The natural laws, everything in its place and a place for everything, and everything follows the same rules except for this. This doesn't follow the rules.
Uh, I can't remember too much about the life that I used to live. But from the small bits that I do remember, and from the new memories that I'm making, most of my life does not make sense. And science is about making sense, taking the unsensible and putting it in order from what I've read and the basic understanding of how things are.
Science is peeking up the skirts of the universe. It's finding the laws that exist that we aren't meant to know.
Is that, in a sense, not making sense? We are not supposed to access that knowledge. That's things that we shouldn't know. You're just taking light to things that don't make sense. You mentioned something there that you came out with more questions than answers. Maybe that's why it called you out there. What if it wants you to ask those questions?
How do I answer them? There's aside from going back out there and letting it have
That's,
its way with me,
I don't know. You're thinking like a scientist. You're thinking that every question needs an answer.
as far as I know, I am a scientist. I haven't unlocked any memories of I don't know, athletics, sports star of some sort, or some kind of conquering hero. Of course, I'll approach this in a scientific manner. God, why do I?
Just saying that, I don't know what I'm saying actually. Um, mm, I'll help you if you ask. You need to know that it's not always about the answer. It's sometimes just the question is what I'm trying to, I think what I'm trying to get at.
I cannot thank you enough for your willingness to accompany me on this venture. I'm sorry that I don't have anything more concrete. I thought I would. But your help is nonetheless appreciated. Appreciated isn't quite strong enough a word, but you understand. Sorry, I'm not making sense. I am a bit rattled. I could say would be an accurate summation.
Do you want me to get you back to your room then?
Do you want to get drunk? Just really quite rollicking drunk. That is what I would like. And certainly I won't force you to that. But if yeah,
Uh, I'm not the biggest fan of getting drunk. But if you want company, I can join you.
I think I would like that. The idea of empty spaces right now is a bit jarring.
I can very much imagine so. Let's find some place for you then.
And Nola's going to go to. Well, he's gonna roll his shoulders, take a deep breath, take up his cane back from wherever he set it down, and go to retrieve the moss ball before heading back to his quarters.
It's gone.
You go and grab your cane, which you left it actually next to the door of the closet that you put it. You open the closet and it's right there.
I have so many trust issues related to this dumb little ball. Where is it?
So many.
It's been in the wrong place too many times.
It is right where you left it. Yet when you reach your hand to touch it, you from on grab it, try to move it, and just for an instant, it feels like can't move it before it comes out. Just for a brief moment, like
Just
it was
heavier than
stuck.
it should be.
It's like when you're trying to
Heavier.
touch something in a dream and your hand just sort of phases through it.
Yeah, it's not like it's just like for a moment it was stuck there, like
Somebody crazy glued the bottom of this jar.
While you were out floating in space, Mac just came in and crazy glued the bottom of the jar, stuck it back down, and ran away.
When you drop something and you go to pick it up and like your hand just closes like a centimeter too far away, like, God damn it! And you try again and you miss again, you're like, damn it! We're in this together.
God, everything could go wrong. I had.
yeah, you have it in your hand. It's just there's a slight sensation that now that you're back in the ship, it's just a slight sensation of heaviness. More questions than answers. And you two go to which quarters, room, SS?
Knowles is the one that has the alcohol.
Okay.
So does Max, but we don't want to go there.
He's not gonna. Null's not gonna go
go
to
there.
Mac's room.
Yeah, you go there.
Along the way, I do pull out my data pad and I send a message to Vahivel saying that everything's fine.
Again. The text you sent your dad.
Look, the two of them aren't like super close, but they have a understanding of each other.
That's like you definitely almost set something on fire in the kitchen and there's smoke everywhere and your dad has now noticed and you're like, everything's fine.
Don't worry about it.
It's good.
Yep, there's a response just saying, okay. And that's it.
Yeah, no, it was just a follow up.
Yeah, I think we will have just a brief pause just to refill water. Whoever needs to refill water, I do, or things. So we'll be back in just a couple of moments. Like right now.
We're live.
Oh,
Yay!
I love
You
the
never
straight
get
face.
I
warning.
told you.
No, it's just like you said now, and I'm just like, okay,
Oh,
like
now?
actually now, yeah.
Is it
Just-
like a 1, 2, 3 now,
No,
or
it's
like,
just now.
Or
like
is it
1,
just
2,
like an
3
outfit?
go now?
No.
So we've been
Yeah.
live for 5 minutes and we just haven't told you.
Pretty
Okay.
much.
Good.
I
Okay.
love you so much.
Um,
Thea.
Cat.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Mr.
no.
Mew.
Oh no.
It just fell. I'm so sorry. I can't
I
believe
missed
that was
that.
everyone
Oh
saw Mr.
my god. Oh my god.
I'm so sorry.
He's just like, sure, I get extra hugs.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hi, welcome back to Homeward.
He's so big that like he can put his front paws on the bed and his back paws on the floor. So he wasn't actually at any point in danger. I just feel terrible.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a particular situation that wants to be discussed while in Noel's room, Nulodia's room. You have arrived there after this. I imagine at some point during you guys resting in the entrance to the hatch area, you untie the rope. So
Oh, yeah,
you're not
100%.
walking in the hallway with the rope. And you have arrived to the room, and it's kind of the same way you saw it before, as just there is a bit of dishevelment around the room. Plants are being taken care of, but there's a bit of that reflection of Noel in his living quarters.
Side note, my cat has just drooled on me so badly that there is drool dripping off of my arm, which is disgusting.
Oh,
Um, his teeth are too big for his mouth. Null does the exact same thing I do when I get home, which is put on my house shoes and put on a robe. um, and that is a ritual he observes even when he has company. But short of that, I feel like he's just motor mouthing.
Chug, chug, chug.
Shots, shots, shots.
I decided well before this game began that Null is a gin man, which we can all agree is some of the nastiest alcohol. But I'm also just I'm taking my personal prejudices into that opinion. He is just motor mouthing to as long as will allow him to do so about anything, just very clearly trying to not linger on the experience he just has. He's talking about his work in trying to grow high yield vegetables. He mentions for the first time his project in trying to grow cube vegetables to maximize space. And that's all he'll talk about unless S tries to stop him. He's just
Yeah.
I do have a question though.
yes.
I-
Is
I
it about the
think-
cube vegetables?
I have many questions about that. We'll have to discuss after the game.
In detail.
Hooray.
Okay, focus. You said that he puts a robe on. At any point, he takes off his shirt.
Mhm.
Okay. Would he do it inside his bedroom section or out in the open?
Probably in his bedroom, but his quarters are sort of arranged like a
They're very
studio
open, yeah.
yeah, like a studio apartment where it's just a bookshelf between like the bed and the living room.
Okay. Would
He is not body shy.
okay, so
Oh, why would he be?
Why would he be? He's perfect.
yeah,
Exactly.
as he's beginning to talk and you see he goes to his room and you're like, okay, just like paying attention to him, and you do notice that he begins taking the shirt off, so you're like, okay. You look away for a moment though. There's a bit of curiosity there. Not sure where it's coming from. To glance and do see something you were not expecting in Nolodi's back. You see at first what seemed to be very darkened lines in contrast with his pale skin until you realize, is that a tattoo? All across his back, showing, you're not sure exactly what is showing. It seems like some sort of circle, kind of like just the outline of a thin moon. There's a line across it, and the rest of it, best way to describe it, it would be as if ink in paper
It's a
had
blot
been put
test.
water, and it's like the ink in his skin had been smeared and malformed. And yeah, you do see that, and if anything, that's not something you were expecting.
I think S takes note of it. I don't think he mentions it at this time. But I would say that depending on how much attention Noel is paying, and if he turns around quick enough, he might catch where S is stealing a glance or two.
He probably like turns around while he's still putting on the robe doing like a flourish because everything he does is a little extra.
Of course.
Of course, because he's a bastard of a man. And he sort of catches Ez's eye, and there's like a hint of a smile, and like his original levity and wit come back to him, and he says, "Well, look at you! You ask to tie me up, and then you ogle me in the same night. It's rather forward of you, truly."
There is a flush as immediately as his attention turns away. Uh, I apologies. Didn't mean to be rude.
I'm being an ass. I'm sorry. That was
No.
You're- I'm the one who took my shirt off in front of you. It's abysmal manners. Sorry. I know you're not.
Also, your quarters. I probably should have given you privacy.
No. I'm the one who invited you in here. I should have
So
been more conscious. I'm not entirely sure if I'm used to. Not entirely sure if I'm used to sharing quarters, although there are 2 pillows on my bed and 2 armchairs in my library. So perhaps I am, and I've simply. It doesn't matter. I know you're not prone to drunkenness, but can I at least offer you a glass, one singular drink, or I think I have mineral spirits, or obviously.
I'll take a glass of what you're having. I just probably won't match you for what you consume.
Well, time will tell. I don't know if I have a functioning liver anymore. And he'll go to the sideboard and pour like a gin and ginger type thing, something fancy with like a rosemary garnish.
Sounds just like Null.
It's
fancy as
extra.
all hell.
I drink alcohol out of a plastic bottle, but he doesn't. My wine comes in boxes.
I have a bottle of soju, and that's about it.
So,
I miss sangria.
God, I love. I made sangria a couple of weeks ago.
I've got a recipe for a white wine sangria.
Okay,
Ooh.
before we get super
Yeah.
off topic,
We're going up. We're going up.
we're going off the rails.
Going off the rails.
Sorry.
No.
No, it's worse. Okay,
Next
cool.
week on
Homeward.
Homeward, Going
Right.
Off the Rails is the name
Right.
of the episode.
Going off the
Um,
rails on the crazy ship.
I
So-
mean,
We all
can
take ADHD meds.
can you go off the rails in
why-
space though?
100% you can. We're living proof of it.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't know where we are.
So, yeah, no. I think after Null, pours the drinks, as he so often has, in Null's room, gravitates towards the bookshelf, and just starts looking at the covers, not quite really reading the titles. You've been talking a lot and avoiding what happened, and I don't blame you for that. But perhaps while you're drinking, perhaps we could, if you've got a book in duplicate here somewhere, we could read together. Maybe take turns reading out loud to fill the empty space.
Aww. It's cute in an awkward way.
It's how S knows how to bond.
If only Mac knew how to read.
I think that sounds a very sensible and enjoyable proposition.
The drink is hitting you hard.
And he sort of drifts over to the bookshelf to shut up. He's my tall cat is touching the door handle. Um, he
It's chaos.
he scans the bookshelf for a moment and then pulls off two copies of the same book. One is in like a hardcover that very clearly is like a decorative type edition of this book, and the other is what would be like the equivalent of a mass market paperback that is just beat to shit. Um, and I want to say
Would gravitate for the paperback if you're pulling those out.
yes. I want to say it's going to be like an equivalent of like a Chronicles of Narnia type thing, a
Mhm.
well-known, well-liked childhood like fairy tale type thing,
Mhm.
a comfort read.
Yeah.
You pull out the book, and it's one of the compilations of Tales of Golarion. Tales, sword and cloak kind of adventure with some magic in it. There's a bit of that idea of a world where magic is not as present, so people have to be more clever, and a kind of like situation, um, which is funny because you guys live in a high fantasy universe. So it's like, what would it be if people didn't have magic?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
or yeah, I wonder how it would be if people have less magic. But
We read about people
Um,
doing taxes.
yeah, that hurt. That's
Nobody likes that.
that's dark.
Just watch
Um,
Mr. Mew in the background.
but yeah, there's this is kind of a bit of a compilation of tales following the same kind of characters. Some have a bit of a nice meaning behind the story. Some are just more of the fun of it. And yeah, you guys spend that time drinking a bit, reading, and eventually the late hours of the night hit in the ship. And S is free to return to his quarters or maybe stay.
I think with this one, because of how he saw Null in space, that panic upon his first uh not so much waking up, but coming to a sort of consciousness. I think S feels a compulsion to stay and make sure that doesn't happen again if slash when Noel sleeps or passes out drunk.
Yeah.
We both did the same thing with our faces. It's like,
You go.
Null ends up not drinking quite as much as he would have intended to. But at some point, he just, while S is reading, he sets his copy of the book down on his chest and leans back in his chair, just closing his eyes. And I think at that point, he sort of drifts off. Drifts off. Why did I say it like that? He drifts off to sleep.
What are Melodious thoughts and feelings in this moment? In those last moments of consciousness?
I think just a pervasive sense of comfort and correctness. Like something about this is familiar to him, even though he's not experienced this within his memory.
And with that feeling, you drift off to fall asleep, and as if you're still awake at that moment, you watch Melodious as he rests. And there's a comforting sensation of calmness, of things being all right. And also a bit of desire to just stay there for a moment.
I think he really kind of settles in that. The uh that desire to stay in that moment. He expands upon it, savors it. He takes the time to really focus on the details that are present.
Slowly, there's a feeling of familiarity. Don't know exactly what, where, how, but it's just that bit of familiarity. As eventually you find yourself comfortable enough to have a good sleep that night, feeling also the weariness of the past 2 days falling on top of you. And yeah, those are the things that happened during those 2 weeks. And by the what would be the equivalent of 15 day of that kind of I wouldn't call it peaceful, but
It was
at
stressful for
least
people.
no, it wasn't peaceful, but at least that moment of taking some steps, maybe forward, backwards, to the side, beginning to move from wherever you guys found yourselves in that first day. And, you know, a couple of days pass. Each one of you have your own requirements to complete and help. In Elodius, there's like a message requesting your presence in the Arcane Division, but it does get interrupted by all four of you receiving a message, not from Bohibel, but from the bridge, requesting your presence.
Instant alarm.
There's no like
Okay.
emergency, but there's like
No. Like, I'm instantly alarmed. Like, this is suspicious, but I'm also curious.
go to the principal's office.
It's like I've-
Exactly.
it's
Hearing
like
your
I've got
voice
an
over the
in.
intercom.
It's real fear.
Yeah, it's like I've got an in and they're not contacting me. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a nap. I did not get it.
Okay. So, you eventually get there, each one at their own pace. I think in order would be Nulodius, then S-Mac, and around that same time, like briefly, actually would be S-K, sorry, Nulodius, God damn, I can't get your name straight. Nulodius, K, and then S-Mac, more or less at the same time. And in there, you do see basically all of the individuals in there that they have different, they have in charge some say in their sections, and all the main people that are their work is in the bridge itself. You see Megan and Kreltuan in a side, and you see Bohibel again with his mug.
I don't want him to show you his butthole. I'm trying to keep him decent.
You
Oh,
see
Mr. Mew.
the Bohibel with his coffee mug just there, looking perpetually sewn out. You see chief engineer, this half orc Kumar. You do see Alduri, the other officer, just there in communications. The two pilots of the ship, and they're like surrounding. They're like kind of around the probably the command table where you have this holographic display of different things, and in there you see there's a map, or at least a representation of a galactic map of your local zone, and there's like a blinking spot, and the blinking has kind of a orangey.
Aura?
He's got to sneeze.
Oh,
Nope, not anymore. Not fucking anymore.
Oh,
Gone.
Oh,
No.
poor Sekrin.
That's
Like
the worst.
how there's the words in the common galactic that do say distress signal.
It's a
mhm.
Mayday
And
signal.
yeah, and like the words and then like a
Wow.
line pointing to it, like I wouldn't say a subtitle, a dialog box,
SOS. It's an SOS.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayday is a specific type of distress call, so
Yeah, maybe. And there's just they're waiting there, and once you guys arrive, and there's a couple of other individuals arrive. Some of you have seen around, but some you're not fully sure. Some on the medical staff, a uniform. Some from the. There's a particular one that has a very specific like science division uniform. The face does look familiar to you, Dolores, but you can't pinpoint it directly. Of this human woman,
Mhm.
and once their Bahibel begins. Well, so we receive the signal from this, like the distress beacon being hailing. It's like, what's the distance? And he turns toward the pilots, specifically the Vesk. Agaslas just says, like a couple of hours, 4 hours from where our direction, if we travel normally through the drift. Yeah, that 4 hours away. It's kind of in the general direction where we have to go to follow the signal of Absalon, or at least the signal we have. And we detected that. We're not sure what it was until moments ago, that when we call everybody. And well, there's a situation that we do not have a captain. He pointedly looks at each one of the individuals here, and you do feel even like he looks at you like small nods.
Oh, hi.
He may have been composted.
We don't know.
Well, the thing is, at least nobody has seen a captain. Nobody has said, I'm the captain in this ship. And we are kind of the only ones here. Like, I mean, I know everybody's
We're a
commander.
committee
also.
now.
Yes,
At this point.
thank you. So I thought maybe the best idea would be bringing everybody here and getting your opinion on this distress signal. We are only getting the beacon. There's no audio from what we've been gathering, and it's not because our communication systems are still broken. We're repairing that, right? And he looks at Kumar, the chief engineer, and he shrugs and grunts. Right, whenever we have the time and the resources, but it's not because of that. It's just a signal.
There's no audio.
There's no audio. There's just there. So we do not know if what's wrong with them.
Could be a trap.
And
That is exactly what Mac straight up is thinking and says out loud. And he'll even state something that we used to do, or as he knows, some pirates, and he uses that language in particular.
Some pirates, not that I would know.
Not that I was white or anything. He looks disheveled as all hell, like he's very hungover. Would send out a distress signal to lure ships to a specific location for an ambush of some kind.
like an anglerfish.
Could be somebody in the
Actually,
same boat as us, where
that's
we
a
don't have
really
any
good
memories.
analogy. No,
Uh,
exactly like an anglerfish.
you just see that the Bruneri like raises a bit his hand. He's kind of shorter than most of. Actually, I think they are kind of a good size. Doesn't matter right now. I'm not gonna look at their size.
He can be short for
Yes,
his
Mr.
race.
Otter.
He raises his hand and says, you know, like here, like Asinkara said, they could be in danger like us. So, I mean, what if the other ships? I mean, isn't it supposed that the Absalom station, everyone with drift can see it? We can't see it very well. What if they're also lost like us?
They could be. That's always a possibility, but
The
there's
question
always
is do we risk it?
the possibility they could be pirates.
So, and S is like very kind of small. He very does not feel comfortable. He feels a little out of place here. This seems a lot bigger than what he.
To make himself smaller, Mac is like sat on a chair, like
Yeah.
cross-legged. Like, okay,
So,
I'm gonna be like the small person here.
um, you said that the distress signal is in our general direction, or what we're traveling.
Kind of. We will have to deviate just a little bit, but it's
How far could we get before necessary deviation?
um he looks at Eglagas and at Dix, the Shirin pilot. And he looks back at the Shirin specifically, looks back at his console, looks back at you guys. We could probably make a jump and be left with like an hour or two of trip over there. And that's when we would need to either turn around 64 degrees to aim at the general direction or continue our trip. We still can more or less aim at their same direction and get some progress done toward Absalom. But
Just
My
like spitting distance to it, probably close enough to get somewhat of a look at it.
Well, what I was thinking is get close enough that we could try and send a communication out,
At
a
least.
probe. It's like trying to get into a system. You don't want to, if you think that there could be any sort of harmful codes, you probe it. You look for weak spots, see if it responds. Get close enough to send a message, see how it responds.
Trust but verify.
That one I get.
I think in my humble opinion, not being a person particularly versed in leadership or tactics, that any chance we have to talk to someone outside of what could possibly be a local memory event or a more vast one, it's worth it to find contacts outside of our specific ship. Whether or not they're
honestly-
hostile, at least we could get more information.
Yeah, even if these are pirates, it still could be useful.
The question is, aside from do we risk it, is what caused their initial reason for being in distress? Was it we don't know if it was system failure, pirates, whatever caused our ship to have all of the undead things that were bad. They could be in a similar boat and we just don't know.
Yeah. Is there a code associated with this distress signal? Like as normal ships would relay a specific kind of distress signal depending on what has actually gone wrong, so we know what to do in a very quick succession of events. Like if there is a crewmate overboard or if the ship is literally sinking.
I think logic will dictate that such things would exist. I would say that in particular, the code for this signal indicates damage to hull. to whole integrity compromised. It will be related to that. Second point, you do see that since the first mention of pirates, Mac, Megan has been looking at you. I wouldn't say
I
stare.
figured she would.
He,
Hey,
Yeah, And Megan has been just looking straight at you, not like a glare or stare, but just a very blank, poignant.
There's a
look.
reason Mac is making himself the small person in this conversation with his 6'7" ass.
He does take a step forward and says, first of all, what we need to care is for the people in the ship. We do have enough people to protect it, but as far as we are informed, defenses in the ship are still down. We got a couple of fighters that they would be able to fly, and thanks to Mac,
You're
goes back to
welcome.
look at you. Nods. They could fly out and protect us. But a part of that, we are very limited in preventing more to the ship. If they're in distress, and if we can do something about scouting ahead, that would be very acceptable. But going further, that might be
We
too
can
much of a
always do
risk.
something about scouting ahead. That's always something that can be done. So we can always take a ship and possibly scout ahead, especially since this is a ship that apparently has hull damage. Who knows what else is out there that caused that hull damage to begin with? I wouldn't actually recommend getting this ship close enough to whatever this distress signal is to possibly incur that hull damage on ourselves. What I'd probably recommend is setting a smaller ship, possibly two, in case this is an ambush. A smaller ship, like a cargo vessel, like, what did we call our ship?
it's Wanderer 2. I never changed the
Wanderer
name.
2. Wanderer 2, and one of the fighters for protection. Megan.
He goes back to look at you. Then he gives
Max says all of this without breaking eye contact with Megan, by the way. Just dead stares at him.
He seems to play cool, like, okay, yeah, what, like, not pay much attention, but whenever there's look at you, it's very poignant. It does at some point you see that he looks at Kreltuan, they give between themselves a look, and Megan breaks eye contact from you.
Good. I am the dominant male here, Megan.
Kay kind of shuffles on their feet a little bit uncomfortably. I actually agree that we need to put our safety of this ship above everything else. We don't know what caused the hull damage. It could have been an asteroid. It could have been something worse. I don't know if we should risk it.
That's why I suggested a message instead of direct help. I
think
didn't
that-
want to seem like the asshole.
You're,
But yeah,
I believe S has got the best suggestion. First, we should send a message, see if there are, in fact, any survivors. Hull damage to a ship can be catastrophic, as we've seen here on this ship. Even minor hull damage can be deadly, if not worse, can cause an entire ship breach.
we do no
Who
good
knows?
if we try to help for the sake of helping. You have
And
to
there's
make
no
the
one
call.
left.
You have to make the call of when someone is too far gone. But if we don't have any information to go off of, you could be missing out on opportunities to change a life.
What we can do is we can get within spitting distance, about an hour away. See if we can send out a message. See if we can even get a visual on this ship at that point. And if we can actually probably, if the ship is articulated correctly, we can probably see the hull damage on the other ship itself, or what's causing the distress signal if it is in fact a ship. Because there's a chance, albeit maybe a slim one, that it's not even a ship, but a distress signal probe setting up for an ambush. But once we can get sight of it, we can determine whether or not this is even a viable thing.
If
We can't
get
do anything
close
until we
enough
see
to
it.
see it. If we get close enough to see it, we need to be ready to jump out of there at a moment's notice.
So let's conserve our jump to be an escape when we take the slow route over.
It's gonna. You see that everybody looks at the pilots. They quickly make some adjustments, and the Sheeran looks. I think we can get it close. We can get it close. We can do a quick drift jump to be like a couple of hours away from them, and then we just power up the engines to get us more or less at a distance without too close. Bohibel nods and looks at everybody. Okay, so all in favor to get close to communications or maybe a visual and take it from there? You see that, most of the people do raise their hand. Megan and Kreltwan do not raise their hands. The hangar chief also doesn't raise his hand. Engineering doesn't raise their hand either, but the majority does raise. He says, okay. Well, Chief, we can get the Wonder 2 ready just in case, and everybody just be ready. Do not know what's gonna be out there, right? I'm terrible at these speeches. He turns around, just goes to the helm, like, just punch it. Drink some of his coffee and.
I will notate Kay also did not raise a hand.
I noticed. But no.
Okay, so as the ship begins to get ready to do the jump, we're gonna leave that episode for tonight.
Let's go. Okay.
So, boy, things will happen, or maybe not. Who knows?
Who knows?
They may be just like, nah.
Maybe everything's fine.
Look, S has already left a guy to die because he thought it was a lost cause. Like, this is just an attempt. If it doesn't pass the vibe check, he's out.
Yeah, if this doesn't pass, if nobody answers that message, Mac is going to be like, nope, they're dead. We're out.
It's just a dead man switch.
Yeah, this is a test to see if there are people there. If there are people there, he'll let you know, and you guys make the call.
Yeah. But we'll find out that not in 2 weeks, next week.
Next week.
So we're gonna have. I already failed at explaining this the first time.
We're gonna
thrice monthly.
Thrice monthly. It's so perfect. Yeah, thrice monthly. Then we rest a Thursday, and then again, and we'll continue right where we left as our ship and crew move to investigate this distress signal. But we do have a few announcements. If our good Gabriel would like to do an announcement, I do not know why I did that voice.
Okay, no worries.
So weird.
The government name.
Yeah, that's fine. You can find it online, Lily. So, hi guys, I'm Faye. If you liked what you saw here and you want to see more of me, I do a lot of D&D over on Wildwitch RP. You can find out more about us by heading over to our website. That's going to be wildwitch.com. That's WILDEWITCH.com. All the ways you can find us online. We do have a YouTube now with all sorts of videos. We do D&D homebrew campaigns. We have a Dragonlance
you
campaign.
got this.
D&D's Dragonlance campaign we've got a playthrough of. Sorry, my brain just old YouTube like buffering circles, chasing circles. But yeah, all that's found on Wildwitch, including the invite to our Discord where you can come hang out and play games with us.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good night,
Yeah.
guys. Stay nerdy.
It's been a long week.
We're all over the place.
Take care. Stay nerdy.